Hi, it's Rob from the Bush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to weather stone. Now for this we're going to be using the Sigmarite Mausoleum that we've been painting up the past couple of weeks, so we'll crack on with that. So this is the Sigmarite Mausoleum and the base for the Mausoleum, which we painted up on Wednesday gone and 2 Wednesdays before that. And now we're going to start weathering the pair of them. Waited till they were both finished before I did this video. So we're going to start with Citadel Agrax Earthshade. Now the Earthshade is going to be used to do little runs beneath these metal parts here and any areas that you think you should have runs on. It's quite a nice dark shade, so it does give you that quite standoutish run when you paint it on. It's also going to be used for doing dirt build up on top of ridges and ledges and also in the recesses, both on the mausoleum part and on the base of it and on the flags and the graves. So you can be quite liberal with this when you're putting it on. So you want to get it into the recesses on all these little ledges here. Maybe spread it out a little bit to the edge of the ledge if you want, just so it stains that light grey highlight and gives it that kind of little brown tint to it. So now I'm going to start working on different parts of it here. So you want to get onto the ridges at the top here. So any of these horizontal ledges that you've got, you want to make sure that you're getting some Agrax Earthshade on them, maybe in the corners where water would run down, catch and collect dirt. Now on this base of the gate here as well, you want to give it a good coat there because the rust would be coming off the gate with the rain and would be staining the stonework. So you want to try and get a little bit of Agrax Earthshade on those parts, and then we'll come back and we'll sepia that just to give it a bit more of that rusty colour that we did on the top of the grave last Wednesday. Again, just doing the ridges here, all little nooks and crannies. And when you're doing this, I started doing it on the tops of those little ledges underneath. However, I do spread that out because you're going to get any dirt that's on the base of it when it's raining or what have you, that's going to splash back up. So you are going to have a little layer of discoloration right the way across the bottom of the mausoleum piece as well. But you'll see that once we start to add it. So again, just going along all the ridges and adding little bits of shade to the various areas where dirt would gather. Now moving on to the base here, we're starting with one of the gravestones at the top. You want to be making sure that again the Agrax Earthshade is going into all the recesses where dirt to collect. They're obviously not very well looked after, so you're going to have quite a bit of dirt on there. If there's a ridge going right the way round, then it will collect water, so you're going to get some greenery in there. We'll come back and do some of that. But for the time being, you just want to be doing the Agrax Earthshade, using that to break up the slabs. Any little areas that are going to collect dirt and water, you want to be adding Agrax Earthshade to those particular areas. Again, here we go, we're adding the Agrax Earthshade to the base of the graves here. You want to do that around the bottom of each one, just because rain's going to be hitting that mud and splashing up the side of it. Just have to shake the Agrax Earthshade there to get a little bit more out so we could use it. So now we've put the mausoleum on top there. We're going to go around it to the areas where we know that it's going to have dirt building up at the base of it. Now when you do this, what you want to do is, once you've put the stuff along the base of it, when you lift it up you'll have little pools of Agrax Earthshade underneath. You just want to wipe down some of those pools so that they're not there, so you've just got the discoloration on the base. You don't want the pools drying, it'll be really obvious that there's blobs of shade just dried there. So you'll see when I lift this up you've got the pools there. All I used to get rid of it was a little baby wipe, and you can just rub at that shade where it's pooled and you'll be able to wipe that pooling away. Now I'm going to use some Citadel Seraphim Sepia, and again, as I said, this is going to be around the gate to go into the mausoleum where the gate's all rusted, so you're going to get that discoloration running down the stone steps. You can see here why I love shade so much, because it's so little effort to get such nice results. So here we're just adding some little bits of Seraphim Sepia at the base where those iron handles are. You can see there where you take it off and you've got the shade pooled underneath. When you do that and you realise it's part dried, it is quite disappointing, but as I say, use a baby wipe and you can just gently wipe that off so you don't have the pooling anymore. Just adding a little bit of sepia to where you've got the Agrax Earthshade run, so you've got that slight yellowing again that gives it that kind of rusted metal effect. Also using a little bit of sepia on the base of these parts where you're going to be getting it running down onto the ledges just to discolour them. Like so. Next up, we're going to be using Seraphim Sepia on this base here too. I've got the sections that we painted up rusted on Wednesday. Where this is going to be, you're going to have water or damp running off from the top of there. Okay, so you've got the roof of the mausoleum, but you've got gates on either end. You might be getting rain blowing through there to add the water to the top of it. If there's any water running down, you're going to get the sepia running down the sides where that is. So I'm trying to get the runs to come down where there's little nicks and notches in that stonework, because it's more likely to run down those parts than the flat stone. Also, by doing this, it means that you can use the base on its own if you want to use the mausoleum somewhere else. Now the final layer is going to be Citadel Athonian Camoshade. I'm going to be using this to add the dampness and little bits of mould or the green that grows on stone and bones and things like that, like we painted it on the last video. So you can see here when I've lifted up the mausoleum that those pools where it dried have gone, and that was entirely down to using a baby wipe to gently rub all that away. So what we're doing here is adding a bit of Athonian Camoshade to some of the soil to make it look like there's bits of damp and things like that growing on top of the soil where it's permanently wet. You want to use little bits of it around the edges of some of the gravestones. You can be quite slapdash with this again. Mainly want to get it into the corners and around the edges of things where the damp's going to be getting into the stonework and the brickwork. The reason to do it like this is because looking at my yard wall, you do tend to get that happening on brickwork that's got stonework at the base of it as well. Maybe it's not getting the sunlight, and so you get that damp on there. Adding some to the paving slabs at the front as well. You're going to get water pooling on some of the little recesses in there. You want to make sure that you've got little bits at the base of some of those slabs too. Checking all the little areas where you're going to have water pooling, and adding some of the Athonian Camoshade to those areas. Also between the bricks where the plants are as well, because the plants will keep the damp against the stonework. You just want to add that to any of the ridges and that kind of thing. So you've got all those little hints of green, different colours really, for weathering and shading. Like so. And that is the finished Sigmarite Mausoleum. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. I'll be doing a couple of little tutorials on some of the other buildings there, like you've got the statue and the railings and stuff, but I am really pleased with how that turned out. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to our other social media linked below.